Marvel once promised a future beyond its classic heroes. New characters were introduced as heirs, protégés, and successors, meant to carry the universe forward. Some took up legendary mantles. Others represented a bold new era for teams like the Avengers and X-Men, but instead of growing into icons, many were quietly sidelined, rewritten, or dropped completely. These weren't failed ideas. They were futures Marvel chose not to pursue. So which next-generation heroes were left behind? Here are 10 Marvel successors that never got their moment. At number 10, we have Urick Masterson, who first appeared in Thor 391 in 1988 as a normal architect pulled into Thor's world. In Thor 408 in 1989, he became Thor's replacement when Marvel put him in the role and had him carry Mjolnir while Thor Odinson was absent. Marvel reinforced this future-facing push by placing Urick on the Avengers and making him the lead in the mighty Thor during the early 1990s, with stories that treated him as the active Thor in the wider universe. In Thor 459 in 1992, Marvel gave him a distinct legacy path by turning him into Thunderstrike and launching him with his own solo series and an enchanted mace from Odin. His life was written with grounded responsibility, including raising his son Kevin while trying to live up to the mantle. Marvel ended the push in Thunderstrike 24 in 1995, when Urick died in battle during the Blood Axe storyline and the series closed. Thor honored him, and Urick's weapon passed to Kevin, but Urick did not return as an ongoing lead. At number 9, we have Darkhawk, who first appeared in Darkhawk 1 in 1991 as Chris Powell, a normal teenager who gained power from a mysterious amulet that transformed him into an armored hero. Marvel launched him with a full ongoing series, signaling confidence that he could become a major hero for the 1990s. Early promotion framed him as an everyman successor in the tradition of Spider-Man and Nova, a young hero learning responsibility through experience. Marvel integrated him quickly into the wider universe through team-ups with Spider-Man and Captain America. In 1993, Chris officially joined the West Coast Avengers, placing him among established heroes and positioning him as a future Avenger. Readers connected with his grounded life, college struggles, and the mystery behind his powers, which made his growth feel earned. Marvel ended his rise when Darkhawk 50 concluded in 1995 and the series was cancelled. After that point, his appearances declined and no sustained narrative direction followed. Marvel moved on permanently. At number 8, we have Sleepwalker, who first appeared in Sleepwalker 1 in 1991 as Rick Sheridan, a college student bonded to a being from the Mindscape who could only act while Rick slept. Marvel launched him as a brand new flagship hero for the 1990s, not tied to any legacy, but meant to build his own corner of the universe. The series promoted him as a surreal protector, blending horror, science fiction, and superhero action in a way Marvel had rarely attempted before. Issue 1 was marketed aggressively, with covers and promotions presenting him as something bold and different. Marvel supported the idea with cross-title exposure, including Marvel Team Up, and allowed the series to run for 33 issues, showing clear editorial confidence. Readers responded to the strange premise, the dream-based threats, and Sleepwalker's outsider perspective as he learned about Earth. Marvel ended the push when Sleepwalker 33 released in 1994 and the series was cancelled. After that point, Rick Sheridan disappeared from ongoing continuity with no follow-up direction. He remained unused for years, confirming that Marvel had quietly abandoned him as a next-generation lead. At number 7, we have Genis-Vell, who first appeared in Silver Surfer Annual 6 in 1993 as the son of the original Captain Marvel, Mar-Vell. Marvel introduced him specifically to carry forward his father's legacy and positioned him as the next Captain Marvel for a new era. He first operated as Legacy, then formally took the Captain Marvel name, making the succession explicit on page. Marvel reinforced this future role by giving Genis 2 separate solo Captain Marvel series in 1995 and again in 2000. He was placed at the center of major cosmic stories such as Avengers Forever and Maximum Security, and was later positioned in leadership roles, including a prominent run with the Thunderbolts. His stories focused on the burden of inheritance, power, and responsibility, grounding his cosmic role in personal struggle. Marvel ended his trajectory in Thunderbolts 100 in 2006, where Genis was killed by Baron Zemo after being declared a universal threat. His death was written as permanent and absolute. After that point, Marvel stopped using him as a central figure. Carol Danvers later assumed the Captain Marvel mantle, while Genis remained absent from ongoing continuity. At number 6, we have Ben Reilly, who first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 149 in 1975 as a clone of Peter Parker and returned fully in Web of Spider-Man 118 in 1994. Marvel positioned him to replace Peter Parker during the Clone Saga, presenting him as the rightful Spider-Man while Peter prepared to step away from heroics. Ben operated as the Scarlet Spider, received his own titles, and was then promoted to Spider-Man across all core Spider books in 1996. Marvel supported this shift with a new costume and stories written to establish him as the permanent Spider-Man. His life focused on finding identity, purpose, and independence after years of believing he was disposable. Marvel ended this direction in Spider-Man 75 in 1996 when Norman Osborn returned and killed Ben, confirming Peter as the original. Ben's death abruptly ended the replacement plan and restored the old status quo. After years of absence, Ben was resurrected in 2017, but no longer as a hopeful successor. He later became unstable and was transformed into the villain Chasm. Marvel never returned him to the role he was built to inherit. At number 5, we have Greg Willis, who first appeared as Gravity in Gravity 1 in 2005, introduced as an ordinary college student who suddenly gained control over gravity itself. Marvel positioned him as a clean slate hero for a new generation, deliberately framed as an everyman discovering responsibility in a large superhero world. The series launched under Marvel Next, a label created to spotlight future lead characters, signaling clear editorial intent. Marvel promoted Greg as a beginner hero learning on the job, echoing early Spider-Man themes while placing him firmly in modern continuity. After his debut, Marvel integrated him into the wider universe through Marvel Team Up in the Beyond storyline, where his sacrifice earned him cosmic recognition and elevated his importance. These stories framed Gravity as a hero with long-term potential rather than a short-term experiment. That trajectory stopped quietly after 2007, when his solo presence ended and no ongoing role followed. He was absent from Avengers Initiative, Avengers Academy, and later youth teams that fit his profile. After brief cameos, Greg Willis disappeared from active continuity. Marvel never returned to his development, leaving his rise unfinished and his future unclaimed. At number 4, we have Phil Urick, who first appeared in Web of Spider-Man 125 in 1995 as a young man who chose to become a hero using abandoned Green Goblin technology. Unlike previous Goblins, he was not tied to the Osborn family and deliberately tried to reclaim the Goblin name for good. Marvel reinforced this direction by launching Green Goblin 1 in 1995 and presenting Phil as the active Green Goblin of the era. He operated as a street-level hero, teamed with Spider-Man, and was written as a young successor carrying a famous mantle forward. His stories focused on responsibility, self-doubt, and the danger of using unstable technology while trying to do the right thing. Marvel ended this path when Green Goblin was canceled with issue 13 in 1996, and Phil retired from heroics. Years later, Marvel reversed his role completely. In Amazing Spider-Man 649 in 2010, Phil returned as a villain and committed murder to seize the Hobgoblin identity. From that point forward, Marvel erased his heroic legacy and redefined him solely as an antagonist, permanently abandoning the next-generation Green Goblin concept. At number 3, we have Rikki Barnes, who first appeared in Captain America 1 in 1996 as a modern version of Bucky in the Heroes Reborn universe, and later entered Earth 616 in Onslaught Reborn 5 in 2007. Marvel repositioned her as a next-generation carrier of Captain America's legacy during a period when Steve Rogers was believed dead. She was written as a young, idealistic patriot meant to represent the spirit of Bucky for a new era. Marvel reinforced this direction by launching Nomad Girl Without a World in 2009, placing Rikki in a present-day world that had lost Captain America. She adopted the Nomad identity and was pushed into team leadership through Young Allies in 2010. Her stories focused on survival, identity, and carrying ideals from a vanished universe. Marvel ended her trajectory when Young Allies was canceled, and Onslaught Unleashed removed her from continuity in 2011, where she vanished, trapping Onslaught in another dimension. No follow-up was provided. After that point, Rikki Barnes stopped appearing entirely, leaving her role as the next generation Bucky unresolved and abandoned. At number 2, we have Richie Gilmore, who first appeared in Slinger Zero in 1998 as Prodigy, the front-facing leader of a new street-level team inspired by Spider-Man. Marvel framed the Slingers as independent young heroes, not sidekicks, and pushed Prodigy as their strongest and most visible member. He wore identities connected to Spider-Man's identity crisis era, and later a distinct costume, signaling long-term intent. Marvel supported the push with a free issue 0, variant covers, and crossovers into Spider-Man titles. Prodigy was written as confident, idealistic, and burdened by the demonic source of his powers, which shaped his moral struggles. Readers accepted him as a potential anchor for a new generation of urban heroes. The plan collapsed when Slingers ended with issue 12 in 1999, and Prodigy relinquished his role. A brief return during Fear itself. Youth in Revolt in 2011 left him injured and removed from action. After that appearance, Marvel stopped using him. No follow-up story. At number 1, we have Julian Keller, who first appeared in New Mutants Volume 2, Issue 2 in 2003 as Hellion, a powerful telekinetic student at Xavier's Institute. Marvel introduced him as part of a new generation of mutants intended to become the future X-Men. He was placed in a leadership role early, heading the Hellions training squad and receiving direct mentorship from Emma Frost. In the story, teachers and classmates repeatedly identified him as one of the most promising students, and school records labeled him as most likely to become an X-Man. Marvel reinforced this direction by giving him heavy focus in New X-Men Academy X, and involving him in major events like House of M and Decimation. His power level, confidence, and visibility marked him as a clear candidate for graduation into the main team. The shift came during X-Force, Second Coming in 2010, when Hellion lost both hands in combat. After that injury, his potential was abandoned. He didn't just fade away, he was embittered and eventually written as a villain in the modern era. Despite being built as the future leader of the X-Men, Marvel turned him into a cautionary tale, leaving his original heroic path completely destroyed. Comment down below what do you think of our list of, and let us know. Also press the subscribe button and bell icon for regular updates.